Why is Bill Gates buying up all this farmland? There's something devious about this. What is happening? We should be very concerned. This is not good. Folks, there's. Oh, of all the things to worry about, Bill Gates buying up the farmland is the least of your concerns. I'm going to share with you why. Because it's actually. It's so much bigger than Bill Gates. So let me just. It's just fun going back in time into my newspapers.com and New York Times for subscriptions, go back in history and just see the things that you come up with. So let me show you something here real quick. We're going to go into my newspapers. This is my New York Times, hold on a second.com. And this is from 1917, all right? A duty of the hour. Many persons at present time are considering the duty of making a will to provide wisely for their heirs. Another equally, and trust me, hang in there. This has something to do with something. I'm just going to hang in there. All right, let's see what else we got. Another equally important duty of the hour is the appointment of a competent executor and a trustee whose life is not subject to the usual contingencies, but is assured during the term of even the longest trust. You will perform wisely an important duty when you name this company, which has perpetual existence, to handle your estate. All right, and this is a banker's trust company. Interesting. All right, so I thought it was kind of fun. And here's the various directors, whatnot. President of the Manhattan Bank, President of Seaboard National Bank, Astor Bank. We'll get in all this here in just a second, but it's very interesting. So Bankers Trust, and I'm very familiar with Bankers Trust. I say, man, it's been a while. Let's look at what Bankers Trust is up to here now, shall we? Because I haven't looked. It's been a long time. I thought this would be fun to look at Bankers Trust. It was a historic American banking institute, all right, back, let's see. In 1903, a group of national banks formed the Bankers Trust Company. If we go back to this right here, President of Manhattan Company, President of Seaboard National Bank, Astor Estate. All right, we got Spencer, Vice President, J.P. Morgan. So let's just keep going because this cracks me up. All right, in addition to the, let's see. It provided trust services to customers of state and national banks throughout the country on the premise that would not lure commercial bank customers away. All right. Let's see. Bankers Trust was incorporated in 1903 with an initial capital of $1.5 million. Despite technically having numerous stockholders, the voting power was held by 3 associates of J.P. Morgan. Thus, it was widely viewed as a J.P. Morgan company. J.P. Morgan himself had a controlling interest. And then, let's see, had a controlling interest in the bank. And Edmund Converse, a steel manufacturer turned financier and president of Liberty National Bank, was chosen to serve as the bank's first president. All right. Bankers Trust quickly grew to be the second largest U.S. trust company and a dominant Wall Street institution. During the panic of 1907, Bankers Trust worked closely with J.P. Morgan to help avoid a general financial collapse by lending to Sound Bank. In 1911, it acquired Mercantile Company, and a year later, the Manhattan Trust Company. In 1914, Converse resigned to become president of Astor Trust Company, another Morgan company. All right. He was succeeded by his son-in-law, Benjamin Strong. Who is Benjamin Strong, you ask? Oh, yeah. He served for a year, but then became the first governor of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and helped establish the Federal Reserve System. Anyway, look, you can read all this. It's actually pretty fun to read all this stuff. And then you'll read, who else was employed at Bankers Trust? Jeff Bezos. What? Jeff Bezos? I got a kick out of Jerome Powell was also employed by Bankers Trust at some point. Oh my goodness, to see Nicholas Taleb. it's just fun. Anyway, the point being is J.P. Morgan and the Rockefellers and Carnegie controlled everything back then. So here comes Bill Gates and his, look, Bill Gates got a lot of money, but not anywhere near what the Rockefellers, Carnegies, and J.P. Morgans, the clan of those guys. So let me show you something else. So we're going to go, let's just say, for instance, what was, hold on a sec. All right, hold on a second. There we go. Am I still recording? All right, so let's just say, for instance, that in 1903, we're going to invest I don't know. We're going to go over to political calculations, and we're going to say 1903. Pablo, would you make up your mind? Love that dog. In 1903, we're going to go to here. We're going to say 1903. We're going to put, I don't know, 100,000. We'll say 10,000 bucks to work in the S&P 500. 1903 January, which is the foundation of the Bankers Trust. How much would we have made on our money? So 9.63% with full dividend reinvestments. All right, so if we put $10,000 in the S&P 500 with dividends reinvested, we would have averaged 9.63% a year going back to 1903. So 1903 minus 2022, that's 120 years. So we're going to do our trusty calculator. We're going to do 120 N. 9.63 is our interest rate. We didn't make any payments. We just did 10,000 bucks, 10,000 bucks. And our future value is $618 million. $618 million on 10,000 reinvested for 120 years. All right, so it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out if we invested $100,000, all right, present value, that's worth 6.1, I can't even figure that out. My calculator is up billion. I guess it's $6.18 billion on 100,000 bucks. Is that right? So 618 on 10,000. I'm not sure. I can't even see if my calculator goes high enough on this. Well, let's just go back to 10 million bucks, 10,000 bucks. So we put $10,000 into the S&P 500 back then. It's worth $618 million right now. All right. How much was JP Morgan and those guys worth? Well, we can get a quick gauge because we can see that this was capitalized at $1.5 million. And basically had the voting power is held by 3 associates of JP Morgan. So JP Morgan controlled all these people. So not only did JP Morgan just get the S&P 500, he literally, and Rockefeller and Carnegie, owned the S&P 500. What do you think JP Morgan's net worth was in 1903 when this thing came to fruition? I don't know. Don't care. So the point being is, my friends, Bill Gates, he's a minion compared to these other guys. These other guys are where the money is. They've already owned all the real estate. They already own ADM. They already own Monsanto. They already own the oil companies. They already own everything. So don't get caught up in Bill Gates because it's already done. It's already been established in this fascist country that we live in called America. I love America. It's the best place on earth, man. By far and away the best place to ever live, without question. But it is a fascist entity run by corporate conglomerates, and the government does the bidding. That's just a fact. Do you think Joe Biden is calling the shots? You crazy. You think Donald Trump was calling the shots? Look, man, it's once you dive a little bit, you cannot help but just laugh. And, I'll tell you something else. Here's J.P. Morgan, born in 1837. That's pretty interesting. So, yeah. How did J.P. Morgan get his money? You can do the research on that. I invite you to do that for sure. It's interesting. John Rockefeller, born in 1839. Interesting. Let's look up Carnegie. Born in 1835. You seeing some kind of similarities here? Just had to look up Henry Ford just for similarity, just for fun. And Henry Ford was born in 1863, so he wasn't part of the big three. But Carnegie, Rockefeller, and J.P. Morgan. These guys control everything. There's all the way around that. They have been controlled everything in our whole lives, without question. Think about it. J.P. Morgan, Carnegie, and Rockefeller, I'm sure there's a couple others I'm missing, they controlled everything going back hundreds of years, and I guess 150 years, and their foundations do as well. They have more money. I'm not going to say more money than God, because God has, God can do whatever he wants to do. But, as a term of speech, they have more money than God. Bill Gates is a pauper, I should say, compared to these guys, man. It's nuts. And just don't get caught up. We're already in it. Bill Gates isn't doing anything that hasn't already been done. It's already here. Don't get caught up in that. Just the frustration that people have that we're being manipulated. Dude, it's been manipulated since day one. And I'll point you again to this book. My House of Rockefeller by Morris Beale. And you should download the whole thing. Yeah, it'll cost a couple bucks for a printing and whatnot. But yeah, I can't find, I mean, I can't find it. I haven't done a huge research to actually find the hard copy. But what you come across, and look, why do they allow people to, like the Morris Beals of the world, to essentially bash the Rockefellers? You think, why do they allow that? Why don't they just shut off all that debate? Because they need an enemy to say, oh, those are conspiracy theorists. Don't you see? They need someone to say, you guys are conspiracy theorists. You guys are crazy. So I don't want to be on the side of the conspiracy theorists. Thus, of course, they're going to allow some people to write stuff. That's just, I mean, this is how it works. They got a house divided, or not house, divide and conquer. And so I got a couple books by Morris Beale, The Drug Story. This is actual book, The Guns of the Regressive Right, and then Dangerous Doses by Morris Beale. And Morris Beale actually wrote a book on the Washington Senators. The Senators, pretty interesting actually. And so I bought these books because they can't be. You don't just want you gotta have the hard copies of stuff, especially if it's somewhat controversial and historic. Anyway, the point being is, of course, they're going to allow these people to write just enough people to look like a fringe, but not enough people that catches fire, prairie fire, which people says, oh yeah, they're not going to allow that. The point being is, my friends, stop worrying about it. There's nothing you can do. I mean, look, I voted for Trump. I'll vote for Trump in 2024. I'll vote for Herschel Walker in 2022. I'll vote for the Republicans because it's nice to see Roe v. Wade being overturned. I love it. Fantastic. I love the fact that they're solidifying our right to Second Amendment. I also love the fact that they solidified the EPA needs a congressional authority. They just can't go there and barnstorm. It's all good, but it doesn't matter. I mean, literally, whatever the powers that be want, they're going to get because they can control everything. I notice, conspiracy, I don't care. My man, Young Timer, says, conspiracy theories are a sign of a weak mind. And I chuckle. I said, just, come on, don't be passive aggressive. Just say I'm weak minded. I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me because I guarantee Young Timer doesn't read that much like I do. I guarantee. And he's a guy who comments. I like him. I'm sure we'd hang out together. If I drank beer, I'm sure we'd have fun, drinking beers and eating crabs. But the issue is that they always want to point to say, oh, you're on the conspiracy fringe. You're like, really? Am I? Or are you just not taking the time to do any research on your own? But you'll never get over that. There will always be a conspiracy fringe. And most people don't want to be considered that. They just don't. They don't want to be called Jenny McCarthy. You see what I'm saying? As such, they're going to allow enough evidence, if you will, to be incorporated into mainstream just enough that they say, oh, that's idiotic. It's just fact. And I'm okay with it. And this is why you got to, where do I do my Bibles in the other room? But this is why you got to love Jesus, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Did you hear about, let me do it. Well, did you hear about Zelenko, Dr. Zelenko, who just died? I'll do another video on that because I thought it was very interesting. He had a rare form of cancer identified in 2018. And he said, I have no fear, none, because it's faith in God. Now, he's a Jew. So he has a faith in the Abrahamic God, not Jesus per se. That's fine with me because God is everything at all times, always. God doesn't just not exist because you don't have faith in him. God is saying, I got faith in humanity. That's why I created it. Whether or not you have faith in me, I wish you would, but it doesn't matter because I'm still here. God loves us even if we don't love him back, and he always will. And the point being, love God and relax. All right, we'll see you.